what's important to know is that we all have our own story. We can label it many different things. We can label it perfectionism. We can label it obsessive. We can label it imposter syndrome or self-sabotage. But what we need to know is that each of us has our own story. And that story was something that was programmed into us at a young age. So we have to pay attention to what those words are. So I'm going to take you through a process, and I will drop this into the Facebook group because I didn't want to put a slide up with it because I want you to really kind of walk through this process with me so you can get it. But this is an exercise that will really help you to start identifying what maybe those behaviors or those habits are for you. And I want you to think of it this way. If you have this big open field, and at the end of the field, one side, it's everything you could possibly want, everything. You've got the great relationship, you've got the finance is where you want them to be, whether it's the house, whether it's the business, whether it's, multiple homes, whatever it may be, right? But it's everything that you could possibly want in your ideal world. And it's sitting at one end of the field. And then to get there, though, there's a path. And this one path is so well worn, like it's been traveled a gazillion times. And at the end of that path, though, is just like this mundane stuff. It's not really what you want, but the new path where you really want to be, there's nothing, no path at all. It's filled with grass and weeds. There could be snakes there. There's sticker bushes, all of that, right? But you want to get to that point. Yet you keep going down this other path because it's safe and familiar, right? Your subconscious mind is designed to do what's automated, right? Not for what you want. You want this, but it's so familiar with this that you keep saying, no, I'm going to go over here. No, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do this. But it's hard to get there. Here's the great news. You do not have to go all the way back, peel all the different layers of the onion and say, what happened back in my childhood? Like when I was 5, what did my parents do? When I was 6, what did I do? You don't have to do any of that. It will probably come up for you as you go through these exercises. But what's important to know is that you have the ability to forge that new path. Now, it takes about 21 days. Neuro-linguistic programming and behavioral scientists will tell us it takes 21 days to forge a new path. However, you can't stop at 21 days because when you start to identify behaviors and you start to create a new behavior, it's about equal at 21 days. So you have to keep going, meaning that we take baby steps. So the process is this. If you're not getting to where you really want to be, you have to stop and you have to lean into the resistance. So number one is you have to be aware. Awareness is going to be key, right? Awareness is key in anything that we do in life. So how do you become aware? If you say, well, gosh, I could look in those days, I could look back and say, I really want to achieve this goal, but I'm not getting it, so maybe I have to work harder. Like what is the most of us, especially I see this so often in women, and it's more because it's like, okay, I am so used to getting my value from outside, from everything I do, because I'm a nurturer, I give, and I'm helping other people and such. And that's part of how we have formed our identity. Part of that is societal. So we put head down mode. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to work. I'm going to get it done. That doesn't always work. So if you sit back and you say, okay, I have to be aware of this. If you can just take a moment and say, wait a minute. I want to do this, but I'm not getting there. Another example. I wanted to be more visible, right? I want to go out and do more of the speaking. I want to do more, motivational speaking and more development speaking, such when I was building the companies. And I knew that was an area that I had to do because it was like prospecting for me. It was a great way for me to get my business out there, right? But if I wasn't sitting down and doing it, if I wasn't making the calls to do that, if I wasn't, sitting down and creating the videos, I would find myself getting up and going and making something to eat, going outside and finding something to do, throwing in some laundry, anything. So the awareness came from, oh my God, why am I doing this? It's the end of the day, it's 6 o'clock and I haven't done what I needed to do. What's really going on? That's the awareness part. You have to stop yourself and say, what the heck's really going on? Give yourself some grace because this is where our learning comes in. If you can sit there and you look at it and you say, all right, I can see that I've obviously got an issue with doing this. So now the second question is this something I really want to do, or do I not want to do it? Do I really want to do that? Is that something that's so important to me? And oftentimes you'll find, and this is where the honesty component comes in, and this is where it pays to understand what some of those behaviors are. If you can look at it objectively and kind of sit back and say, okay, I'm watching this person almost like you're watching a movie, and this person wants to be over here. This is the goal where they want to be, but yet they're doing all these other activities. If you sit back and you say, wow, is that really important to me? You want to pay attention to what comes up to you. Very first thought that comes up into your mind, because that's going to be telling. A quick hack to do this, very easy hack to do this. If you struggle and you go, gosh, I'm not getting an answer, take your name and write your name down as a vertical column. So Kim, K-I-M. And then you're going to the very first thought that comes to your mind. K, what does K represent? Kind. What does I represent? Well, now for me, it's kind, integrity, and motivated. But before I did this exercise, before I really understood this and I was trying to break these things, it's called a pattern interrupt. Anytime that we can do a pattern interrupt, we're going to kind of jumpstart our mind. We get it out of that automation and we get it to say, boom, we got to do something different. But we have to keep doing this consistently, because consistency is going to make the difference. So if you look at this and you say, all right, what's my name? Before it was kind was there. That would never change. But the second was impatient. And the third one came to mind was measured. Impatient and measured. So I had to look at that, because I wasn't quite getting a real clear answer as to, did I really want to do that? Or am I holding myself back? Am I justifying myself, or am I sabotaging? Who knows, right? So I had to do this little exercise because it was a quick way for me to do, in a sense, a pattern interrupt and get me right into the heart of it. The word impatient was so telling to me, because I didn't want to feel feelings. That connoted vulnerability. Oh, I didn't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to feel anybody's feelings. That goes back to family or origin. It doesn't really matter. But the bottom line is, I could so clearly see now that by me feeling feelings, that means I had to show up. That means people could judge me, right? So then it's all of a sudden, it's all of these other things that I could clearly see, whoa, I'm also measuring my success according to what I do. Again, that's a self-worth validation. I'm looking outside myself for that worth and that validation. I'm not going to get anywhere in life if I continue to put that validation, that acceptance, and that worth outside of myself. Everything is created. Remember what I said early on? Everything is created first in the inner world. Everything is created inside first. Thought creates. Thought is energy. Thought creates. So if I am going to try and achieve what I really want to achieve in life, then I have to go back to the self-love. This is where it all comes back to what's really going on inside here. So the first one is that awareness. The second one is really understanding what's the word that are coming up for you that's creating this behavior. That hack is to simply write out your name. And I like to do the name because it's personal, right? There's other ways to do this, but I think the name really helps because it is personal, and you can quickly give yourself some bits of information, because you think, what's the first thought that comes up? And when you have that thought, then we want to label that thought. Now, why do we want to label the thought? Because when we label the thought, it becomes tangible. And it's very hard to get rid of something, a pattern, a behavior, because it's energetic, right? It's hard to push that out of us if we can't really kind of see it. We're visual beings. And I'm not talking about learning. I know that we learn differently. Some are visual learners, some are kinesthetic learners, but we're visual beings. We see an image and our thought registers that image back right in our cortex. So we start to register that image. But in order to really release an energy of habit or behavior or pattern that we have been creating, because remember, we want to forge a new path, then if we label something, then it becomes more tangible for us. And if it's tangible, then we can clearly look at it and say, oh, okay. There was a girl in school, years ago, I actually named something after this girl, just because I remember her saying to me, I was like this cheerleader in school, you can do it, I know you can do it, oh, I can help you, come on, we can get this done together, I'll be your big cheerleader and supporter, right? But I remember her just like completely shutting me down, and she just didn't want my help. Okay, fine. And just say, what, are you going to motivate me? You think you're the motivator? And it's not what I thought. I mean, I was probably 13, 14 at the time, but I remember holding on to that so tightly. And so now there's times where something will pop up and I'll go, I'm not even going to name her name in case anybody's name is this, but I'll look at it and I'll say, But here's the beauty of it. I can label it now, and I can just make a decision. Is this serving me or is it not serving me? Is this behavior taking me closer towards what I want to be? So if I can say, look, Kim, if you really want to show up more and you want to start building your business, and that means that you have to create these videos or put yourself out there, whatever it may be, especially when I was doing the sales training, well, then if I'm not doing it, am I just playing small because I really don't want to build that business? Or am I doing it because I'm so afraid that people are going to judge me? And so for me, it was like, well, no, I really do want to do that because I can see how it can be of benefit to other people and I really enjoy it. So now it's like, well, okay. So if that's the thought, I'm aware of it. Now I have the thought, I've named the thought because I know the impatience, I know the measured success, I know that's coming from judgment, fear of being judged, getting validation from everybody else. Then I can say, all right, is this serving me? Are you serving me anymore, or is it time to let you go? And is it time to start stepping onto a new path? Because the path is forged only when we continue to be consistent on it. Yes, we can go in and bulldoze it. And that means you go back to the early years and you start digging through all your crap and trying to figure out where it came from. The other way is to just say, no, thanks, going to jumpstart it. I'm going to start a new path by walking on it regularly, baby steps every single day. And by the end of 21 days, believe me, you are going to have a pretty good path down that field towards what you want. So now you've got this behavior in your hand. What do you do with it? You thank it. You always want to come from a place of gratitude because it is showing you a different side of yourself. And when you can see a different side of yourself, it allows you to step into a fuller version of yourself, not with anger, not with frustration, not with hate, but when you look at it graciously and you can thank it and say, wow, I can see how you, brain, were trying to keep me safe. Thank you for doing that. But you know what? You no longer serve me. I'm a different person. I see how that's no longer helping me. And I choose, because we get a choice, right? It's our life. We have a responsibility whether or not we show up and play the game. So it's how do we want to show up and how do we want to play the game? So now you have a choice. So I'm looking at it and I say, you know what? Thank you so much. I so appreciate what you've shown me in the past. This behavior is no longer serving me. I release you. And then you simply release it. Now you have the ability to release and move forward. But you can't do that until you can stop in the moment and look at things and start to become aware of what's really going on. And again, you have your story. Everybody has their own story. And this is where sometimes you hear people saying that, oh, it's perfectionism, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. There's all these different labels out there. But the reality is something's going to come up for you. This is why I say to you, if you write your name down in a vertical column and you use each one of those letters and come up with something that flashes through your mind, you may find that you have, like for me, I had 2 of them. You might have 3, you might only have 1. That's a clear indicator that that's the behavior that you need to pay attention to, because that's the one that is derailing your efforts. And that's the one that's holding you back. And when we hold ourselves back, it's really basically saying to ourselves that we don't respect ourselves and that we don't love ourselves. We were put on this earth for a reason. We have worth, we have value, and it doesn't matter what we do in the world, how much money we make. All that's important is that we truly believe in ourselves and we love ourselves enough to respect ourselves enough to take ourselves on a journey of figuring out, why have we held ourselves back? And maybe, why am I talking to myself the way I am? Would I talk to others that way? Would I treat others, the way I maybe treat myself? And if the answer is no, then it's time to look inside and say, okay, we got to make some changes here. Because from that place, in that moment or in that space of self-love, then you can create. Then you're able to move forward towards the goals and the vision that you want in your life. So I am going to put that exercise into the Facebook group. I'll walk you through the steps in there, but I wanted you to just kind of have more of a visual and walk through it with me so that you kind of get a grasp on it and see how you can, in a sense, you're doing a pattern interrupt with your subconscious brain so that you can get it out of just what it's automating for a moment, because you're going to have it automate something. You just want it to automate the right path for you that's going to take you to what your desired goods are, rather than the safe and familiar path that might have you holding yourself back, not respecting yourself, and not stepping into the fuller version of yourself. Your soul wants to express itself into a fuller version. And the best thing you can do is to truly love yourself, because that's why you are here.